I was elated to be in Nova Scotia and excited to be on the bike for this first day in Canada. I hugged the Atlantic coast and made my way north. I was heading to Lunenburg, a UNESCO town, and planned on a double overnight there. The weather was perfect for riding, and as I made my way closer to the ocean, the salt air filled my helmet. I mainly rode Route 3, which painted a tight line up the south shore of Nova Scotia, heading up from Yarmouth to Halifax. It's called the Lighthouse Route, and I was on watch. At one point, I passed by a sign that said site of the 1967 UFO incident in Shag Harbor. I made a U-turn, as did several other cars, and took the compulsory pictures by the sign and the lobster alien. Shelburne was a great stop, and I had lunch at the Sea Dog Saloon on the wharf. A beautiful day and great views. Heading from Shelburne north, the coast became more interesting and the coves were plenty. I stopped at Carter's Beach, where cars were lined up and parked for a mile or so on the road. My next stop was Crescent Beach. Cars were able to drive on the packed sand. I headed down and onto the beach. It was a sunny, windswept day, and it was something special to take the bike on the beach and park within feet of the surf. Here I am at Crescent Beach. About a couple hours south of Halifax. I'm going to Lunenburg tonight. I took some time to soak in the experience. It was a feeling of having arrived. It was a state of mind and possibly a new rhythm to the trip. That was how I felt, and it definitely was a turning point for me this day and on the journey. Not too long after getting back on the road, the GPS took me to a ferry crossing on the way to Lunenburg. Now this was cool. A 5-10 minute crossing for $7 Canadian bought me a bunch of time and a huge smile. Once I arrived in Lunenburg, I set out to find a place to stay for the next 2 nights. It was a quaint town with impressive ships and historic buildings painted in vibrant colors. I strolled the streets and built up a good appetite. I found my way to the Grand Banquet, which was crowded, but I was able to grab a beer and wait for a seat at the bar to open. Dinner was an authentic Arcadian Cajun seafood stew and more beer to wash it down. A couple sat at the bar next to me all through the evening and we chatted it up big time. It was interesting for me as they pulled back the curtain and showed me a bit more of the real Canada. Travel opens the door to connecting with people, dispelling stereotypes and learning about other cultures. Hours of chatting and it was time to head back to the hotel. Today was a day to enjoy the uniqueness of Lunenburg and some time off the bike. I wasn't thinking about getting anywhere or where I needed to be. I was just happy to be here now. I woke up feeling energized and rested. The double overnight in Lunenburg did me good. It was what one would imagine a Nova Scotia morning to be, foggy and wet. The only thing missing was the sound of blaring foghorns. Jeanette was flying into Halifax this evening, and that would mark a new phase of the journey for the next couple of weeks. I was looking forward to sharing the trip with her. I headed toward Halifax and chose the Lighthouse Route tracing the shoreline north. I was popping in and out of quaint coves all up the coast. The route was lined with fishing wharfs, moored sailboats, harbor cove towns, small beaches, and the famous Peggy's Cove lighthouse. On the way to the lighthouse, I passed the site of the Swiss air crash. People were stopping to visit the memorial. There was also the SS Atlantic Memorial remembering the sinking of the ship and loss of over 500 lives in the late 1800s. I arrived at Peggy's Cove. The lighthouse was a spectacle that you could see from the distance. The coastline was rugged, and the cove and lighthouse were representative of Nova Scotia so far. It was the picture that makes a postcard, authentic and beautiful. The wind and the waves crashing on the rocks added to the excitement of being there. People were climbing across the large plateau of barrier rocks around the lighthouse to get closer to the sea. Warning signs were posted, but that didn't seem to deter anyone. The sea was relatively calm and the footing was easy. Another feeling of having arrived washed over me. It was more than a sense of accomplishment. It was a feeling of being where you're supposed to be at a given point in time. The sky was dark and the clouds looked a bit ominous, but it hadn't rained yet. Today was overcast and the humidity was high, but the riding was awesome. The weather was simply a Nova Scotia backdrop to a great day of riding. As I approached Halifax, I quickly realized that it was a proper city. Making it to the hotel, I was intent to get settled before Jeanette got in. After checking in and getting to the room, followed by laundry and a shower, it was time for me to get a bite to eat, as she would be in late. It was great to have my partner joining me for a couple of weeks. The plan had been to take the day and explore Halifax by foot. We headed to the Halifax harbor. It was a beautiful morning and we strolled along the water, walking all the way down to Pier 21, which housed Canada's Museum of Immigration. We walked the city and took the time to visit the Maritime Museum. There's a rich history rife with tragedy, from the Titanic to the SS Mont Blanc explosion that killed 2,000 and injured 9,000. We headed to a beer garden on the harbor for guess what? Beer and lunch. Halifax was a very walkable city, at least the downtown. It was a good stop and jumping off point to explore Atlantic Canada. Tomorrow would be 2-Up on the bike.